My name is Teresita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and we're continuing with Saturnastra, Deasura. We're in chapter 14, so yeah, let's continue. Month 15, day 30, year 4. Tonight I left Mita, and I have been sailing for a couple of hours in the bizarre ship that the twins concocted. It is certainly impractical, maybe. Frankly, I do not know what to make of it. It is like a very large catboat, which has a long metallic flexible fin at the bottom, like those of a kite surfing board. The bottom mast is twice as long as the ship, and the front wing, the fuselage, and the stabilizer looks like a flying fish. This piece is also the main mast, and it gets submerged whenever it transforms, for lack of a better word. When it rises this way, the sails get stretched and thrown pretty high up in the sky, and the ship picks up plenty of speed, even more so than the traditional schooner and other proper power ships. The only downside is that the people have to be strapped in, and the captain has to navigate from inside the cabin. It is also best used whenever there are large winds and waves, but not lightning. It can only be used in very deep waters. The twins know their way to the ocean, so they are navigating at the moment. How the boat manages to stay afloat with those two masts horizontal to one another is a mystery. Only now it feels like they went a little crazy with their esoteric design. At 25 knots per hour, we had the fastest ship in the world. Even before the gimmicks, we were managing a decent 20 knots. The ship is still in its drought phases, and with any luck, it will not capsize and leave us stranded in the middle of the ocean. However, between you and me, my dear Cleese, I will start holding my breath. Aside from these odd sails, the ship uses very light pieces of lumber and well fat to boot. And being a mermaid ship, it comes with no lifeboats. Then again, it had been sent out on so short notice. And my original vessel had been confiscated days before my great escape, and the twins secretly moved whatever supplies they could manage to their personal ship. And the ships had been hidden a kilometer away from the coast, and these supplies were sunk below the ship with the anchors. And as for my escape, well, it was simple, if not somewhat dramatic. To fulfill my order to cripple the Navy, I planted dynamite beneath the ballroom, and during one of their many fancy dinners, I detonated, and boom, half the castle went up in smoke. And to add to the confusion, I asked Atagati to shoot fireworks into people's houses, and she also made mincemeat of all of the ships in the docks. Trailing behind me was the 30 prisoners, and soon others started to join in my escape, and chaos overtook the streets with fighting and pillaging. And then the implosion was the catalyst for a massive riot, and pastures flaring. Those in the other city were scrambling to make it through the open frontiers to loot the castle. And other shadier characters also entered the mix, and from the docks I saw a large mass of bodies come down the slope, and I had no idea who they were and what they were doing, and apparently they had been waiting for a signal of some sort to start the advance. And while looking through the ships, I saw the twins in their bizarre vessel, and I got inside, and so did a dozen sailors or so who went to try to raise the sail but were chastised by the twins. And through a system of rings and pulleys, the twins could operate the sails from within the cabin without needing manpower. And I went inside the deck to do a head count, and Liz was there, having abandoned his temple, and the only thing he had in his possession was the reliquary, and Rudolph and his teacher Gentinius were there, in addition to my children and Lunette. And the ship could constantly fit a crew of about 130 people, and it could run with a minimal crew of only 2, or so the twins claimed. And when I got inside, the ship was starting to move through the tangle of other ships in the docks, and ours was the dock in the barn, so naturally there were attempts to stop us. And we even got shot by cannons a couple of times, and once we entered open water, it became a bit of a chase, and without the characters creating New Year's confusion, it was up to Eclipse to supply the necessary large range firepower. Eclipse manifested from the idol I had given the children to watch over, and the stone peeled to reveal a glistering pale silver scales with a vicious red tongue. And it quickly entered the water to complete its transformation, and when it re-emerged, I saw that it had large faucets and whisker like those of acacia, with tiny wires hair from its tip. And it had 2 sets of wings, and the one growing from his crown of one were ash gray, and the second was black and was more akin to the pectoral fins of fishes. When his swam is flying with flattened against his skin, and when he used those fins, the slithering tail added locomotion. With the appearance of this beast, the chiefs trailing behind us decided to send out their own dragon and fight fire with fire, as the saying goes, and Typhoon was a beige chromatic dragon used to fighting humans. His only experience against his own kin were the play fights he would engage with his brothers and sisters. And dragons typically avoid fighting with one another, and the rebels had never managed to train a dragon to use in battle. And something always happens, like the dragon would escape or it would get discovered. And knowing that this was not going to end well, did not stop Typhoon from battling, and he felt that it was only a matter of time before the rebels figured out how to use the dragons. And Eclipse had never engaged in battle, so he was eager for the experience. And using the water, he would jump in and out to make passes at Typhoon, and Typhoon, in answer to his problem, flew higher and higher. And chromatic dragons are like the frigate birds, able to fly for weeks on wing currents. However, his powerful wings were pretty much useless on the water. And to aid Typhoon, the human both started shooting cannonballs at our ship, and the twins knew the range of the cannon shot and the speed of the ship allowed us to stay a couple of meters away. And unknown by this turn of events, Eclipse, ignoring Typhoon, went towards the Navy ships, and Typhoon followed his shade, and he tried to shoot a few fireballs, but it was useless. Towing with him, Eclipse scraped a few of the rotten wood from below the ships to cause water to flood the interior, and he made certain to damage portions when no humans could be found, and he did so to give them a bit of an unwelcome surprise. And after an hour of circling about the ships and causing the ships to waste tons of ammo, Eclipse got bored, and to gather strength he gazed upon the Titan moon and caused one of his trademark eclipses. And his scales obtained the moon's aqueous golden color, with a twin blue aura around the edges, and he gathered speed below the water before shooting out with quick lightning speed, and he aimed for Typhoon's jugular, but instead he bit down on the wings, and he crawled around the chromatic dragon nonetheless like a snake fighting an eagle. And with an injured wing, Typhoon fell to the water, and he started sinking, and it took all of his strength to stay afloat, and he tried to return to the Navy ships. However, they were scrambling to return to mainland now that the leaks had been discovered. And God help me, he screamed, but no one was listening. And Eclipse went to him and to say, "You keep playing about and you will definitely drown." "Fuck you," snarled Typhoon. "Well, never mind, it is none of my business to interrupt your drowning. Still, you did pray for a miracle, and I, the sea serpent god Eclipse, am here to answer your prayers," said Eclipse, returning to his youthful pale color. And Typhoon did as Eclipse suggested, and he flattened his body and he stretched his arms and he relaxed his muscles, but was still sinking. And Eclipse pondered on this mystery, and then he said cheeky, "Oh, well, I suppose you're insufficient buoyant enough to float." And in the end we had to bring the boat around and take Eclipse onto our vessel, and after rearranging some cargo we were able to accommodate him in the center of the deck. And he has been behaving well since he came aboard, and I spoke to him a couple of hours ago, and apparently the so-called chromatic dragons do not become magical till they age for a couple of centuries. And from what I read from the words of the dragon writers, it takes centuries for dragons to mature the appendix. And it is a small pouch attached to the large intestine at the junction of a small intestine, and in certain species this pouch has a bacteria, the dwarf eater, and it serves as an in-house mana pool, and it takes centuries for certain dragons to cultivate this bacteria, which allows them to use magic. So yeah, like the appendix that people say is useless, that's how you cast the mana. That's where you store your mana. Whatever. I'm just speaking nonsense. The subcommissural organ in the brain acts as a specialized storehouse of magical information. Alas, no one here is interested in this train of thoughts. I miss Mona. She was at least good at pretending to listen to what I had to say. Even when taken seriously, very few people enjoy talking to me for prolonged periods of time. My dear Rainbow says that I ramble too much. Month 1, day 1, year 5. Rudolph spent most of the day locked in his cabin, and he has been suffering from seasickness, thus his studies have been put on hold for the moment. And the old gem seems to have taken to the oceanic life like a fish in water, and speaking of the water, the rationing has been most frugal, in part because my charges refuse to bathe with salt water, and others have taken not to bathe in at all, and it's becoming a real nuisance. And I see Leaf walking in the deck sometimes, and he cradles the pearl like he would do an infant child, and he's wrapped in cloths and creeping people out. And we need to restock our water tank soon, unless these poor humans get dry tongue. And another thing that bothers me is that everyone is lounging about, treating me and the twins like their personal servant. If it keeps up, I swear people are going to be thrown overboard. Month 2, day 15, year 5. Supplies are running low, and those scavengers on no or refuse to fish, and Lucky tells me that they are planning a mutiny, and the only thing that deters them is typhoon and the dragon eclipse, and I should really exile them when I get a chance. And Typhoon has solidified on the spot, still nursing his injured wing, and from time to time his game of playing still pays off and he eats a seagull or two, and frankly he's the main reason we are running low of supply. It takes a lot of meat to feed a dragon, and I fear he may grow ill with the solid diet of meat and little minerals, and the twins are making efforts to process salt water into drinking water, and the salt does not go to waste since we can feed it to our pet dragon. And they shouldn't have been making complaints to me today, and they finally noticed that I do not know any of their names, and they think the gods are telling me their names whenever I'm forced to speak with them. Then again, it is not as if I go way out of my way to get to know them. I just feed them, bathe them, educate them, play with them. My duties to them only can go so far. And one of them flat out asked me, and why don't you love us? Why should I asked coolly. And he was about to speak, but grew silent, and he started just like my own mother. Geez, relax, it's not as if I'm going to drop you in the middle of the ocean just because I don't like you people nor want to be your friend. Does not automatically mean that I'm going to abandon you. I said avoiding the word yet. You're mean, he started crying. Well, for not sugarcoating it, do not forget this fact that I'm only 7 and you can't ask a 7-year-old to take all of the responsibilities of paternity. And once you sucker a fool into being your mother, then she can pretend to care about you and tell you the lies to make you happy and all that nonsense and enjoy, I started saying. That is enough, Deasura reprimanded Leaf. Sorry, I said to get him off my case. And sorry, see, I was just kidding, and Mommy's just stressed out for lack of food and water, and if we don't find fish soon, you will find out all about it, I said, grinning. My cynicism fell on deaf ear, and the stupid bastard stopped bellyaching at the mention of a real problem, and it was then that he noticed that I had not eaten anything since we had gotten on the boat, not that there was any need for me to eat, and there was currently a plankton bloom in the ocean that surrounded us, so I could eat my fill just by sipping through the seawater. The twins too were enjoying a feast, doubling their weight and size over the last month, and they were going through their final growth cycle, and thus required a lot of food to reach their adult height. Month 2, day 16, year 5. We saw some ships over the horizon, and there were merchant ships sporting the flag of the Ocean Kingdom, and a different flag is another clear sign of the divide within the kingdom, and of all the ships I have seen, only the Navy rides with the flag of Veragerum. Anyhow, I took this chance to unload my human cargo, so to speak, and I rode up towards one of the ships, and in exchange for gold, they offered the convicts passes back to the mainland. And I knew the ships were into slave trade, but my uninvited guests were starting to get on my nerves, so I sent them on their way. A few suspecting that something was afoot chose to stay, and once the ship rode away, I said to them, well, you got me, that was a slave ship, tee-hee. But there was really no reason to worry about getting antsy about riding with them. They are law-abiding, honor-bound people who happen to engage in slave trade. Just because slave trade is legal does not make it right, commented Typhoon. And a melancholic silence fell upon my entire crew, and I decided to go easy on them for today. Today Typhoon was in a philosophical kind of mood, and he spent the day debating on legalism and morals, and he fooled many people into believing he was a pacifist at heart. Month 2, day 17, year 5. Today we reached a coral reef in the middle of the ocean, and reefs are usually located around the equator, expanding at least 30 degrees latitude north and south. And since the continent of Bersamel, or whatever it's called right now, is located in its center, it has a bountiful reef all around. And this one grew around a strange rock formation beneath the waves, and for some reason exploring on land was its priority over viewing the big wide ocean. And we have plans to linger, and since we do not want to damage the coral with the anchors, we had at least created a miracle for us to keep us stationed on the spot, and the wind is designed to balance against the natural undercurrents that would move us about away. And together with Sasha and Yura, we started rod fishing. We would show the angler and hook what we desire, and the shooting would then quickly process the fish, gutting it, deboning it, and preserving them. And one of the prisoners who did not have the decency to leave asked, how are you guys doing that? You just throw the right bait and the fishes come running in, I said, Johnny. But you're not using any bait, he commented. It may seem like that to you, I said, throwing out my line. And he asked, gesturing for me to complete my sentence, but I remained stoically silent. And And Juba then said, translated, what she means is that the rod is enchanted, and as such it does not need a bait. Huda, who was sitting beside them from reading a book, commented, I do not sense anything remotely magical about those rods. Sense? Just because you do magic doesn't automatically mean that you have magic sense, I corrected. And Sasha then added, well, it would have been easier to explain the thing of the rod by just calling it magical. Well, it certainly is most arguments as far as causality is concerned, and it's anything remotely out of the ordinary is often playing with God's this or magic that, and it does get rather tiresome, don't you think? Commented Typhoon. And once there was a solid bucket filled with bones and intestines, they should have brought it up to Typhoon, and grimacing Typhoon said, more scraps. It's not so personal, Typhoon. I'm just trying to be economic about our situation. You can eat the bones and the guts just fine, and they will not. And besides, you are eating bonito, and even the worst parts of the fish taste delicious, I said, smiling. I eaten whole fishes too in the past, and it has not affected me one bit, said Jura. Yeah, humans miss out on plenty of nutrients by refusing to eat the bony parts, said Sasha, laughing. And one of the smaller children was about to try out a bone when Jen snapped. Don't eat it, it will kill you. The mama said eating bones is good for you, she said, starting to cry. Your mama was only joking, and only fools take whatever she says seriously. It's not a rule of closing his book. And don't talk about my mother that way, she said, throwing root off a fish. And with his new reflexes, he tried to catch the fish with his hand, but instead it landed square on his face. For the last time, I am not your mother, I said, throwing onto the work that my latest catch. And putting my rod away, I entered the water to fetch Typhoon something else to eat. And after asking about a nice cuttlefish, directed me to some oysters, and I took the oysters as well as the parrotfishes. And they are not edible to humans, but Typhoon could digest them just fine. And cuttlefishes are a great source of information due to their prodigious visual memory. And taken with them is a bit of a tricky since it involves a flashy light show, and there are also plenty of regional differences and even a secret language used by the females of their species. And when I returned, the children were arguing with Rudolph, and they quieted down as soon as I returned. And one of the rats opened her mouth to say something, but then closed it again. And for some reason, they pretended to return to business as usual, and was giving me passing glances. And Typhoon shivered and said, and thank you for the meal. You're welcome. When night fell, I returned to the ocean, but only to amuse myself, and the reef was plenty colorful at night. And there was always a feeding frenzy with the reef sharks, and feeding with them is usually a bit of problematic, and they tend to perform threat displays to any new face. However, if you mimic their behavior in the morning cycle, they pretty much assume that you are a type of shark, and it also helps to focus on prey and stoically ignore them. And if you show them that you hunt well, then they will respect you and treat you like an apex predator. Speed is the key in this situation. I gorged myself till 9 p.m., and the shark was still going about by the time I got out. And Buddha was looking over the railings with the hunter's lantern. He commented, those things are like crazy down there. Yeah, they will be acting that way till morning. It is best not to fall into the water when they're in that sort of hungry mood, I said, climbing onto the ladder. You don't say, whistled Rudolph. How is it that you get along well with all of them fishes? Asked Typhoon. Do you have some sort of mind control power over them, or do you speak fish? I do not speak fish. Fishes do not have a language, and talking is more of a whale or a dolphin thing, and I think cuttlefishes and seahorses also talk. As for most fishes and skids, they use sign language and attach to communicate via smell, I explained. How do you communicate by smell? Asked Gentinius. Well, just like humans have vocal cords, certain animals have glands that shoot spores that carry a certain scent, and when the nose smells it, the smell can be interpreted as words. I explained. Said Gentilius, returning towards the shark's feet. And the moons were high above the sky, with most of them full, and the purity of the water allowed one to distinguish the ships on the water well, and a familiar tense feeling fell upon me, and I focused my eyes beneath the waves. And so the cliffs had the artist, sandals, and rainbow, and overcome by a familiar dread, the sea sharks started schooling. Alright, this is a good place to leave the chapter. Bye-bye and God bless. Bye-bye.